All right, welcome to another episode. Today we have the lovely Sreyo. She is a women's embodiment coach. She's currently working on helping women reclaim their voice and confidence through spiritual tools and mindset shifts. So, Sreyo, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. No, thank you for being here. I know you're working on a few projects, and we were just talking about how sometimes it can be difficult, right? Even maybe scary to step into the unknown with faith. So, tell me a little bit more about your perspective around that, just like stepping into something new, but with faith.
Yes, absolutely. I think God plays a very important role in what I do
Mm,
and people's life in general.
mm,
Um, when I started the Instagram account that I have, The Quiet Girl Speaks,
yeah.
I told God that these are not my followers,
Mm,
but this is your target audience.
wow.
What do they need to hear?
Mm,
Um, from you through me. So I
mm,
work on being a clear channel as much
yeah.
as possible and let God's wisdom reach people
Wow.
because on my spiritual journey, I
Mm,
have found many people who have guided me through what I was going through,
mm.
like Eckhart Tolle and
Oh, yes.
Dolores Cannon
Oh,
and
yes.
Michael A. Singer. And I think these are all people who are signposts on
Mm,
your spiritual path.
mm,
And I think that plays a very important role in business and
mm.
as coaches and in leadership.
Hmm. So for someone who's thinking about it, right? Because sometimes that's where we find ourselves like in this loop of thinking and like, should I do it? Like, right? What do you recommend? And I'm getting chills thinking about it. Like, what's maybe the guidance that you would give somebody who's about to start something, but they're a bit unsure?
I think the best way is to just start because once you start, that is how you develop the confidence. It's
Mm,
not like you become confident and then you
yeah,
start.
yeah.
I think preparedness comes through doing, and
Mm,
that is something that I would advise people who are just starting and to
mhm.
think of it again, coming back to God, that you're not jumping alone, you're
Wow.
jumping with God.
Yeah, I love that so much. Just recently, I was at a retreat, and one of the takeaways, it's kind of silly, but I just got this big insight around like, wait, like God's got me, and just like really, we were talking about the idea of ownership, which we'll get into in a second, but just like really owning that. For you, you have your account and you're helping women. How does anybody really start to own their voice and own their message that they want to express?
I think firstly, having faith in what it is that you want to say. I think some
Mm,
of the issues that we face while expressing ourselves online is okay, maybe so many people have already said this, or like,
um,
this already exists, or people must be knowing this is common knowledge. But I think what really separates you from others is your lived experience
yeah.
and your lens. And I
Mm,
think when we realize that, I think we become more confident in sharing our
yeah.
voice. And um, if we can even help like one person uh, amongst all the people who are viewing the content, I think the goal is achieved.
Wow, yeah, and it's interesting in the times that we live in with social media and algorithms, we do see the numbers, right? Or we see the likes and the comments. So, personally, I could get in my head about like, well, this post performed, this one didn't. So, for someone who's new and they're a bit scared of that, right? Like, how do you manage just staying present to the mission, which is, I think, what you're talking about? Like, hey, if we can help one person, that's a big deal. How do you stay present to the mission when maybe some of these distractions come up?
Yeah, it happens with me a lot because my account is a small one. So I
Mm,
also get a little worried about the numbers and the
I know.
likes, comments, shares, and everything. Especially if somebody unfollows you suddenly and you're like, why did they
Oh,
unfollow?
yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
That's true.
But I think what I really focus is on the DMs because
Mm,
when you have people DMing you that they have, gone through your account and they really find the content to be very deep or it has touched their lives or,
mm,
they have really benefited from it. Like, for
mm,
example, I created a PDF, and a PDF is like now it's very common. Many people say, oh, it doesn't work anymore, and things like that. So I just created it to sort of reset. It's like if you need, like, we need to restart our phones. You want
mm,
to reset your system so you can use it, that ritual, anytime that you want in the
yes.
year. And honestly, it didn't get a lot of clicks,
Mm,
but there was this one person who said that thank you so much for this free gift.
wow.
And, I'm really going to fill in all the pages. I'm going to print it out and I'm going to fill in all the pages. And I was like, wow, somebody called it a gift and they're going to print it
Mm.
out. So,
Yes. Yeah. I love that because sometimes, and this is maybe speaking from my own perspective, but even maybe the audience may resonate. Sometimes we're ungrateful, right? Like we have maybe high expectations, and when these moments happen, or someone does share it, even one, or someone comments, right? Even one like, one comment, one share, one repost. Yeah, because it's easy to get distracted again. So, for you, how important is gratitude through a journey like the one that you're going through?
I think gratitude is what keeps me going, honestly,
Mm, yes.
because I start thinking about the numbers and the strategy. Like I really feel that I've gone through a lot of content strategy and I've gone through, like, what works, what doesn't work and
Yeah.
everything. But for me, it is the gratitude that keeps me humble and
Mm,
that keeps me going.
yes, yes, yes. What are some rituals or habits that you have on a daily basis in the morning, in the evening that allow you to call upon or even trigger that gratitude?
Um, there are some things that I really like. One is journaling, and
Yes.
I really journal about my day. And I
Mm,
also like meditating.
mm,
And something I like very much is talking to God.
mm,
Um, like, I feel that prayer is a one-way street
mm.
where we are just talking to God. But meditation is a two-way street where you can receive um, signals or
Wow.
insight from God. And I think that helps me a lot rather than, making God a separate part of my life that I go to
Mm.
once in a while and integrating him as a family member, as someone you would share your day with in general.
Wow. Tell me more about that because I think there's a lot there around literally integrating God and I believe you and I both share, same beliefs, like believe integrating Christ and the Holy Spirit into our
Yes,
life, right? So
yes.
how, and I'm getting chills thinking about this because sometimes in the past, or I've even heard people say like, I don't know how to pray. I mean, I've been far from God. I don't know if it's like the right thing to do right now. So from your perspective, what are some of those ways to just integrate God into our life?
I think the very first thing that I did, because I was going through a tough time, and I
Yes.
told God that, dear Lord, I just want to be a clear channel and I want to
Mm,
I want you to step into my life and I want you to take charge of things. And I think that everyone has access to God and everyone is a child of God, but we need to exercise our free will to invite him into our lives. So
Yes.
there's this painting, which is called, I think, Checkmate. And there's this devil and this human playing chess, and the devil
Mm,
is clearly winning. And there is an angel who's looking over at everything that's happening. And when I saw that painting, my first reaction was that why isn't the angel intervening and doing something and like helping the man, like how can the devil win and everything.
right.
And then I thought that maybe it's the human's free will, right, to invite
Mm,
the angel in to
that is
intervene.
so true. That is so good. Why do we not do that from your perspective? Why do we not invite, help, God, the angels in to support us?
I think because there's such a sense of separateness, that we are separate from God and
Mm,
that we are separate from each other. And we don't realize that it's one consciousness at the
yeah.
end of the day. And
Mm,
we need to do everything on our own. I think it's a very individualistic perspective that we need
mm,
to do everything on our own. We cannot ask for help. We need
yeah.
to figure it out ourselves.
Mm. It's interesting because that ties right into this idea of community because then when you're observing others praising or praying or um some of the most powerful meditations that I've ever experienced was when I was in a group setting. So tell us a little bit more about that and also tell us a little bit more about your background because um even me, I was kind of unsure like what your beliefs were, right? So I think everybody in the world can tap into, let's say, Christ or Jesus or anything that really brings you closer to just feeling supported, right? So number one, tell us a little bit about your background and then tell us a little bit more about like this idea of community.
So background in terms of well, I am Christian,
Hmm.
and
And like
when
where
I
do you
say
live
God,
and in the region and things like this?
so I'm from India,
Yeah.
and I'm from a city called Kolkata. It's
Mm-hmm.
in the east of India,
Mm.
and I speak the language Bengali.
Okay.
And I am a French teacher,
Mm.
and and I'm Christian. For me, when
Mm.
I say God, I mean Jesus.
Yes.
And one way in which I feel that I've been integrating him as my family member is by
Yeah.
just believing that God is my
Mm.
father, my savior, my light.
Yeah.
It's God. So I'm really not putting that responsibility on anybody, any human,
Yeah. That's
any
good.
person, just giving it to God. And I
Yeah.
think that really helps us to connect. And in terms of community, so since I was always this introverted kid, I was quite
Nice.
misunderstood, bullied
Mm.
in school and college.
Mm.
And I think that's where the online community comes in. Like,
Mm.
definitely, um, it's difficult to use social media and there are many disadvantages, but it also brings the like-minded people together. So
Mm.
that's how I found certain communities online, and I learned breath work, and I connected with other people who were also starting this journey of content creation. Like,
Mm.
I truly believe that I could not have done it on my own. Like, if I was
Yeah.
alone sitting in my room and thinking of starting an Instagram account and filming
Yeah.
myself, I couldn't. I actually joined a challenge which
Mm.
was called Creating Content with Confidence. And we were like few people starting the content journey together. And I think that I was able to do it in community.
Mm. That's so good. Yeah, because sometimes what happens is like we have these stories in our mind, right? Like well, I'm just, for example, me, like, I'm just a guy out here in, you know, like a random town or whatever, right? Like, for example, it's like, however, when you really zoom out, and we haven't really touched on this, but it's coming up, it's this idea of authenticity. Like, just we're normal people, and sometimes with social media, because we see the highlight reels, we may see the flash and like
Yeah.
these crazy things, and you're like, whoa, that's amazing. I don't have that. What have you
Mhm.
learned where it actually has allowed you to express authentically?
Hmm. I think there are these many s- strategies that people usually use, that you need to think of the ones that are seeing your content as your ideal client, or you need to make a profile of the person. I really look
Mm.
at it as somebody speaking to my past self.
Oh.
I'm the one that the past self needed. This is what I needed to hear a few years back. And
Mm.
that helps me to be
Mm.
authentic, because I
Mm.
feel that there's another girl, another boy who's sitting there and is at that point where I was a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that person needs to hear exactly what I'm saying. And if I mask my authenticity, then it will not work.
Yeah.
So that helps me to be authentic and raw. Like, it's not really the most polished content. It's not really the most, not very aesthetic and things
Mm.
like that. But yeah.
But that's the authenticity, you know? Like it's cool because you can also get a sense of somebody by, I don't want to say how hard they try to like make it
Mhm.
look a certain way. Of course, the bigger brands, they have the budget and it's a whole literally a
Yeah.
brand that they have to kind of keep in a cohesive strategy. But also some of the coolest people I've ran into, it's just again, this idea of like normal, just a normal individual. They're really good at one thing, but they're also just expressing genuinely. So
Hmm.
as you help women, for example, how do you help them step into just like owning or reclaiming that side of themselves?
I think women's voices have been suppressed for a very long time,
Mm,
irrespective of where you're from.
yeah.
And I feel that the best way to own your voice is through the little things. Like, for
Mm.
example, I, for the longest time, struggled to say no to people. So
No.
it doesn't have to be something very huge. It's just tiny little things that compound over time. So
Mm,
little by little, I learned, okay, if a friend asks me to go out somewhere I don't really want to go, then I have the ability to say no, not this time, maybe next time.
mm,
Something as simple as that.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. And it's also we come back to that idea of like free will, and
Hmm.
like using it and exercising it versus maybe being pulled by distractions, right?
Yeah.
So, how do you manage that? Because sometimes too, I don't want to use the word miss out, but sometimes we miss out on I don't, it's like there's so much in life that we can experience, right? Some of it is bad, but maybe some of it is good. So, how does somebody balance, yeah, holding their boundaries, but also being open to expanding their capacity and their perspective?
Yeah. So I think one part of it is having boundaries
Yeah.
and letting, deciding who gets to come close and who
Mm,
doesn't. But there's
mm,
another side, which is coming out of your comfort zone.
yeah.
So the boundary decides who comes in, but the comfort zone is for you to decide when it's time to step out.
Yes.
And we need to step out little by little so that
Mm,
our horizons uh, go beyond where we are. And the online
Mm,
community really helps us to reach out to people. Like if this was so many years ago, we would not have been able to
I
connect,
know.
right? So this is definitely me stepping out of my comfort zone,
Yeah,
but doing it as much as your nervous system can take and not
yeah.
really overwhelming yourself.
That is so true. That is absolutely a key part of growth is this idea of like you didn't say it explicitly, but really it's a decision that we make to expand our comfort zone, like just really expanding it. And I got an image, it's silly, where it's like you would never try to just like overly stretch yourself to the point where you like snap a tendon or something crazy, right? It's like, but sometimes maybe that's what we think, like, oh well, I have to post all these videos and to do like all these things, like, but to your point, do it in a way where it's gradual, because also another thing that I've noticed is when you do it gradually, it becomes normal, and then it's not hard to keep going, right? So
Yeah.
from your perspective, how do you keep that momentum of like expanding outside of your comfort zone and sharing your voice and sharing reclaiming your voice?
So, um, I think that if we go gradually, it's sustainable. So, for example, I started posting. Uh, Firstly, my account was private. I did
Oh,
not have the courage to go public, and
uh,
I did not have the courage to literally like be like, oh, so many people are going to watch and things like that. So
mm,
first, it was private. So I just started creating content. Then
nice.
it became public. And then I used to post just once a week, just once a week. Then
Mm,
went to twice a week. And now I'm at 4 times a week. So I think that's like how I went gradually. And I think the
mm,
more you express yourself, the more you um, understand yourself. Because I
yeah.
feel when you express online, like the internet or social media is like a mirror, and you
Mm,
get to see yourself uh, through what
mm-hmm.
you have created.
That's
And
interesting, huh? It's like
yeah,
seeing yourself out there, yeah. Yeah.
so that really helps. And sometimes, we have these ideas, which is like, great, but when we express them and we like put it out into the world, and when we watch it later, sometimes we think, oh wow, that's actually something good,
Yeah,
and that could have otherwise maybe just been lost in the million thoughts that we have.
I know. You know what's coming to mind is this idea of like abundant and creating from an abundant, like a place of abundant ideas. But also, you mentioned something very powerful earlier around this idea of like being a channel, right?
Hmm.
So, s- even personally, whenever I'm not just like on track, or whenever I'm doing certain things that maybe they're vices or they're distractions, I don't feel like I'm a clear channel, right? So for you, how do you clear your channel so that you can have an abundance of ideas and just working from overflow?
Hmm. So I feel that it's a cyclical process in the sense that there is this expansion, but there's also this contraction, and
Mm,
giving time to that contraction.
being patient.
Because yes, because this happens. Like I'm expanding and I'm having so many ideas, and there's like so much I want to express, and there's like so much I want to do, and I don't have enough time. And then there are times when it's like there's nothing. There's
Ah,
absolutely nothing. And we become restless and we try to force it out of ourselves. But I think if you give enough time to contraction and enjoy
mm,
the contraction as much as the expansion, it
mm.
will lead to this abundant cycle of uh, ideas uh, and inspiration.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting? A lot of times too, this idea of abundance can get misconstrued for just money and like wealth but even there, like what I caught you saying is this idea of energy to some extent. having the energy to be inspired and like, you know what, like, I'm gonna create, right? So how have you found yourself re-inspiring yourself, maybe, through hobbies or through your spiritual life, or how have you found ways to like re-inspire yourself when needed?
I think I really like reading. So,
Okay.
reading has helped me a lot. Many of my ideas and inspiration come from reading. So,
Mm,
like I mentioned, some of the authors, like
yeah.
There's books, The Power of Now, and then Untethered Soul.
Mm,
These are books that really expand your consciousness
yeah.
and makes you really think beyond. um like you mentioned about money, so I would
Yeah.
say money is also a form of energy transaction, and
Mm,
it's like it's energy that's going out and that's also coming in.
yeah.
So again, it's a cycle and it needs to go out and it needs to come in. And many
Mm,
people would say that, oh, you're spiritual, so you should not be
yeah.
materialistic and you should not be thinking about money or charging so much and things like that. But just imagine if money is not placed in the hands of good people, then how will the world change?
Yeah. It would. So it's interesting because sometimes, using a word like the enemy or what, like sometimes the enemy will create these stories around like, hey, you got to be humble. And of course it's good to be humble, but also I think, right, it's like, well, whatever the nicknames are there, like, the enemy can be the father of the lies, right? And so half truths where it feels
Mhm.
like, well, yeah, you're right. I shouldn't talk about money or I shouldn't have these big goals and big dreams. So, yeah, what do you recommend for someone who's maybe stuck in, now we're getting into this idea of paradigms, right? So how do you get someone out of it to have a paradigm shift out of maybe limiting beliefs and beliefs around scarcity?
Mhm. So I do feel that as coaches as well, when we have to present our offer and
Mm,
we don't want to be too salesy.
yeah,
We don't really know how much we should be charging. There's no like, how do you value or how do you quantify the kind of value that coaches provide?
yeah,
And I think that firstly, it's an energetic exchange. And one day I was just thinking that money is a human construct. I mean, if we look at it, there was a time when there was no money. There
yeah,
was no piece of paper and there was no coin, and there was slowly and steadily the barter system came in, and then
yeah.
this whole concept of money came in. But
That's so
there
true.
was a time, however long ago, where
Yeah.
humans lived without money, isn't it?
Yeah,
They
yeah,
survived. They lived. They
yeah,
knew how to
yeah, yeah. Like that,
they
that's
knew how to
funny.
build their houses. They knew how to stitch their clothes. They worked. They grew their food and everything. So I think coming out of that scarcity mindset, in the sense that money is not this kind of thing that is not enough and there's only like this much in the world and everyone's scrambling for it, but
Mm,
it's energy and it's there and there's enough
yeah,
for everybody.
man. That's a whole can of worms right there, as we would say. Like, there's so much there because, yeah. So I studied econ in college, and I was always fascinated about that. Like, how did this all come about? And what came to mind, just kind of as an insight right now, is this idea of like, well, so let me go back. Yeah, in a perfect ideal world, we're like, hey, I need this, I have this, let's exchange, right? But then what happens is, what came to mind is like, that's when ego gets in the way, or that's when greed gets in the way, where someone's like, I need this, but then they're like needing more than everybody else, and so it's like, you know, maybe to some extent we need systems to just, yeah, measure and be like, where are we at? You know what I'm saying? Like, but also that gets into philosophies around democracies, capitalism,
Yeah.
like socialism. So to not get too deep into that, yeah, there's power in even just awareness, right? There's power. That's so good right there. Oh my goodness, yes. So what you said there is like just being aware, like there was a
Hmm.
life before this. People are
Hmm.
still they lived. So what are some other, and you also mentioned it earlier with this idea of books. What are some other insights around just expanding your consciousness or things that you're like becoming aware of?
Hmm. So I really feel that each and every single one of us is a part of God in the
Mm,
sense that um so when I was quite young, when I was a kid, I used to have this vision of, like seeing God as this huge source of light. And I used to see these tiny sources of light,
mm,
points of light coming out and going towards the huge source of light. And I felt that's why I often say that I am a light being going through a temporary human experience. So
wow.
I think that is something that has helped me to expand my consciousness and to really merge with um, the idea that it's all one consciousness and we are just a reflection of God. And uh, God is within us and we are a part of God. And also meditating upon nature really expands your consciousness.
Yeah.
Like if you are just sitting in a park or somewhere and if you just observe a bird, this was a funny incident. I was just looking outside my window and there was this bird sitting there perched on a tree bark. And I was just staring at this bird. And then suddenly I thought that, is this bird thinking something?
Mm,
Is it thinking, where am I going to get my food? Where am I going to sleep at night? Oh, the weather, if it changes, what will I do? Or is it just sitting there and just in the present moment? Like,
mm,
and that was,
wow. See, that's so interesting because there's really, like beauty and simplicity, but then we get into this idea of wisdom,
hmm,
right? Like there's just raw wisdom just through observing, which it sounds like is what you were kind of doing, you were just observing. So why do you think we don't make time for that? Because that sounds amazing, right? But then why do you think maybe we forget, or why don't we observe more and just be more present?
I personally, I feel it's not our fault at all.
Mm,
At all, because when you look at, even if you have this Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and if you go through the hierarchy of needs, first the basic needs of food, clothing, shelter, everything, human connections, social setups, all of these need to be fulfilled to some extent to really move towards self-actualization.
mm,
So I would say that it's not our fault. It is only when we are fulfilled to a certain extent that maybe
that's
we make
true.
room for these ideas.
Mm, yes.
And I also feel that for me, the starting point was where I was quite happy with my job and I was happy with everything. But there was something missing. And I could not explain what was it that was missing. I just thought that there has to be more to life than this, and there has to be something more. And eventually, I found that that something more is actually our connection to God,
Mm,
to
wow.
Jesus.
Yeah. Wow. That's a mic drop right there, as we would say, right? That is so good. Yeah, and again, I'm getting chills because it's actually pretty simple, you know? Like when you
Hmm.
really step back and just look at it, there's a lot there around simplicity and just maybe surrendering, like, here or wherever in a Western culture, there is a lot of pressure, like a lot of
Hmm.
expectations and like you need to be here, you should be here, and like you're seeing everybody else, like, why am I not there? It's something wrong with me. So this, reminds me of this idea of camping, here in the States, like we're big on camping and stuff like that. And I think at the heart of it, maybe there's wisdom around reconnecting with nature, right? So from your perspective, how important is that?
I think it's very, very important to connect to nature because that reminds us of who we are and like the fact that we are part of nature. It's not something
Yeah.
separate, right?
Yeah,
So we are part of it. And I
that's good.
completely understand that there is this hustle culture. We have it here as well, where
Mm,
you need to keep going, keep going, keep going, no breaks. And you have a house, you have a car, you want a bigger house, a bigger car.
yeah.
Uh, it's a never-ending journey. And I think even the billionaire who has one private jet would say, okay, why don't I have seven? So
Mm,
it's quite a never-ending process. And I don't think we need to reach there to realize that. We can realize that right now.
that is so good. Yeah, and then now we loop in the power of now, right? The power. It's just like, man, that is, it actually, it's almost like an unveiling or whenever you've been driving a car and then the windshield gets dirty and you can't really see clearly. It just feels like it's just like clear now, right? And now it's like, man, like we can, yeah, we can move forward with confidence and clarity when we do get into this space of like remembering who we are. Because I think maybe that's the heart of the message. It's like, remember who you are. And even there, it sounds so silly, but it's like, wait, yeah, we are part of nature. But sometimes because we are in a house or we are driving, we may feel entitled, like, well, like I like, and by the way, that then we can get a little bit controversial because God may command us to be dominant over nature. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So there's something there as well where, yes, remember who you are. You're part of nature, but also from our perspective, from our philosophies, um there's also strength and yes, you're also a human with consciousness and you can create, right? So
Mhm.
as we start to wrap up, what's maybe like the central theme for you as you continue your path and continue to learn? What's something that's really top of mind for you?
I think this is something that I have not yet started, but I would love to start, which is sort of a movement or like a school community where I want to say freed women, free women, in the
Oh.
sense that I want to like create the space where um, women have the capacity and the ability and the freedom to express
Mm.
themselves. And of course, like it's both, whatever we spoke is for both men and women.
Yeah.
But I personally like
Yeah.
work with women. And that's something that I dream of creating a space, a safe space
Mm.
for women to come together and to really inspire each other because it's not like I know everything.
Yeah.
I am also learning. I might be a signpost on someone else's
Yeah.
road to God, but there are signposts on my path as well. So
Mm,
if I can just bring them together, it would be such an amazing space.
wow. Well, first of all, I think you will. I think you will. You should, like you will. And right, going back to willpower too, right? Like creating it, just going for it. But you said another thing there where it kind of reminds me of like, is there a book on that where you said the road to God, right? Like you said, like on the road to God, it's like, what's interesting? When we're born, we enter life and we're obviously like crying and like probably unconscious. And it's almost like, what if, and this is now we're getting very philosophical, but it's like, what if, yeah, well, not the whole, but a big purpose of life is to, get back on that road, and then the destination is God. Because when we're
The
born, we
whole,
don't,
the whole purpose of life is to remember where we are from, and we are from God.
wow. Yeah, that's a mic drop right there. I've never
Ah,
heard that before. I don't think I've ever. I'm sure like I've heard like, but I've never heard this idea of the road to God.
hmm,
And it's so I'm getting chills because there's so many roads. The road to fame, the road to money, the road to like popular, like the road to the sexiest body and like all these distractions, you know what I'm saying? It's like, but
yes.
but wow. And then now we're actually, oh my goodness, now we can pull in some of the Bible verse around like I don't even really know it like to that extent, but it's like I am the way, I'm the light,
Hmm.
the road, I'm
Yeah,
the way.
yeah, yeah, yes, yes.
Wow, this is good. Um with that in mind, as we wrap up, what are you gathering from this? And then I'll ask you a couple more questions, but what are you getting from this so far?
Well, I just hope that this reaches people and they find my account,
Mhm.
and if they resonate with what we spoke about today, they could follow the account. And I just this was me stepping out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And even if like it reaches one person, like I said before, my job here is done. And
Mm,
this was like a milestone for me to have this conversation
yeah,
because uh, I love talking about all these things and I could go on.
I know.
But so I'm grateful for the opportunity to
Yeah.
have this conversation and to, really discuss these uh, topics. And I
Hmm.
really hope it resonates with your audience and they find value in it.
Yeah,
And
absolutely, they will. And a big reminder I'm gathering here is like, like human dignity. Because
hmm,
anybody could say like, oh, that's just Luis, or yeah, that's just, Freyo. It's like, but there's a lot of depth too, there's like
hmm,
everybody has a story, everybody has, and so maybe this serves as a reminder of like our own worth, our own
yeah.
the dignity as a person, and we do have experiences, and we have read at least some books or seen some things where we can say, you know what, I know a little bit about that, or I know a lot about this topic over here, and just yeah, for me, I want to honor you for stepping into using the word the ring, stepping into the ring, stepping onto the field and just going for it. Because I know for a fact you're going to inspire like a lot of people. You're probably already inspiring a lot of people. Sometimes we just don't know it yet, right? So from your perspective, if this was like the last message you would give to the world, right? Like what would be that final message?
I think I would go back to what you said about like, that we might think that, oh, okay, this is just Lee or Sreyo. And but each one of us is worthy enough
Yeah.
to share our story because there is some medicine in it for someone out there. And if we start valuing each other on the basis
Mm,
of the number of followers
yeah.
we have or the number of
Yeah.
people that we are connected to, it would be devastating because it
Yeah.
feels like an episode from Black Mirror where everyone rates each other and
Really?
yeah, there was an episode like
I never
everybody
saw it.
gives a rating to each other and your access to everything depends on the rating that you have. So I think we are not too far away from that in the sense that we are valuing people on the basis of how many followers they have, who
Mm,
are the ones that they know. So
yes.
I want to say to each and every single person that you are worthy.
Mm,
You're worthy as you are enough as you are, and God sees you, even if nobody else does. God does.
wow, yes, I love it. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much to the viewers, and we'll see you next time.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It was a
Of
pleasure.
course. Thank you so much.